the arrival of the desperate. The Galactic Federation had seen its share of wars, conflicts, and desperate alliances, but nothing had prepared Earth's leaders for the sudden and unexpected visit from the Gamilons. Once a proud and powerful race, the Gamilons had been reduced to a shadow of their former selves by the relentless onslaught of the Sebek Armada, an ancient and ruthless machine race hell-bent on galactic conquest. As the Gamilon envoy ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its sleek, battered hull was a stark reminder of the dire situation unfolding in the far reaches of the galaxy. The ship landed with a hiss of steam on the White House lawn, causing panic among the gathered human military forces. But before anyone could react, the ship's ramp lowered, and Korvac, the Gamilon commander, marched down with a determination that could only be born from desperation. Flanked by his honor guard, Korvac's ceremonial armor was scratched and pitted from countless battles. Ignoring the human troops who had their weapons trained on him, he strode with purpose towards the entrance of the White House. The fate of his people, and potentially the entire galaxy, depended on this one final gamble. Inside the tense standoff that followed, Korvac laid out the dire stakes to Earth's leaders. The Sebek Armada had developed a doomsday weapon, a device capable of erasing entire planets from existence. The once mighty Gamilons, now on the brink of annihilation, had one last hope: the tenacity, ingenuity, and sheer unpredictability of the human race. Earth's leaders were stunned, torn between suspicion of the Gamilons' motives and the chilling realization that this distant conflict could soon arrive on their doorstep. Among them was Bruce Cooper, a battle-hardened Special Forces operative with a lifetime of combat experience etched into his scarred face. Unlike the others, Cooper saw the path clearly. To protect humanity's future, they needed to take the fight to the enemy, and he would lead the charge. The unlikely alliance with Earth's leaders reluctantly agreeing to aid the Gamilons, Cooper began assembling an elite team. These were Earth's finest warriors, men and women with the skills, courage, and tenacity to venture into the unknown and face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The Gamilon ship, now a symbol of the desperate alliance, sliced through the inky void of space, heading towards the heart of the conflict. Inside its hull, the human warriors prepared themselves, checking their gear with a mix of dedication and unease. Among them was Zara Hernandez, a Marine sergeant known for her precision and intensity. She moved with a quiet confidence, despite the skeptical glances from some of the men who doubted her abilities in the heat of battle. Cooper, having seen Zara's mettle in action, knew better. He watched as she integrated seamlessly with the Gamilon crew, her keen eyes absorbing every detail, her quick mind parsing the intricacies of their language and culture. Captain Korvac, too, took note, particularly the way Tyla, his second-in-command, seemed intrigued by the human warrior. The first attack came suddenly and brutally. Sebek raiding crafts latched onto the Gamilon ship like parasitic creatures, forcing Cooper and his team to leap into action. The battle that ensued in the cramped corridors was a nightmare of flashing blades and searing energy beams. Zara fought with a deadly grace, her rifle spitting death as she wove through the melee. In the chaos, she caught a glimpse of Tyla, her sword a blur of silver as she hacked through Sebek drones. For a moment, their eyes met, and in that instant, a silent acknowledgement of respect passed between them. The Sebek were repelled, but the cost was high. Gamilon bodies littered the corridors, the air thick with the stench of burnt metal and scorched flesh. As they neared the Gamilon homeworld, Zara couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were sailing into the heart of a storm. The ruined cities and blasted landscapes that greeted them spoke of a war far more brutal than she had imagined. Beneath the stern visages of the Gamilon High Command, she detected a current of something darker, a desperation born of a civilization on the brink, secrets and deception. The Gamilon homeworld pulsed with an uneasy energy as Cooper and Zara acclimated to their new surroundings. The alien architecture stretched skyward, its sleek lines marred by the scars of recent battles. The air thrummed with the constant hum of defense systems and the hurried movements of a civilization at war. Zara found herself in a vast laboratory complex, face to face with Kier, a Gamelon scientist whose eyes sparkled with barely contained excitement. "Observe," he said, gesturing to a holographic display. Zara watched in amazement as the image shifted, revealing the inner workings of Gamelon super soldiers. "Our bioengineering allows for enhanced strength, speed, and regeneration," Kier explained, his fingers dancing across the controls. "But there are complications." Zara leaned in, her brow furrowed. "What kind of complications?" Kier's voice dropped to a whisper. "Our leadership has become overly reliant on these augmentations. They've forgotten the importance of strategy, of adaptability. It's a dangerous oversight." Meanwhile, Cooper stood at attention before Admiral Zar, a towering Gamelon whose scarred face spoke of countless battles. The Admiral's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the human soldier. "Your people are untested in this war," Zar growled. "Prove your worth. Take a mixed unit and destroy the Seebeck supply line at these coordinates." A holographic map flickered to life between them, and Cooper's heart quickened. "We'll get it done, sir." As preparations for the mission intensified, the divide between human and Gamelon soldiers became painfully apparent. In the hangar bay, Zara overheard snippets of conversation, the alien words tinged with skepticism. "These humans? What can they possibly offer? They'll just slow us down." Zara stepped forward, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Let me show you a few things about Earth combat tactics." She demonstrated a series of maneuvers, her movements fluid and precise. Slowly, reluctantly, the Gamelons began to engage. As she worked with the alien soldiers, Zara noticed something unexpected beneath their bravado: uncertainty. One young soldier, his crest a vibrant blue, approached her after a training session. "Is it true?" he asked in a low voice, "that on Earth, soldiers can question their leaders' decisions?" Zara's response was interrupted by the blaring of alarms. The mission was a go. The first strike. The Joint Strike Team materialized in the shadows of the Seebeck Supply Depot, a sprawling complex of metal and energy fields. Cooper's voice crackled over the team's comms. "Team 1, set the charges. Team 2, with me to the central hub." They moved with precision, human ingenuity meshing with Gamelon biotechnology. Explosive charges were planted, vital systems sabotaged. For a moment, it seemed almost too easy. Then all hell broke loose. Seebeck drones swarmed from hidden compartments, their metal bodies gleaming in the harsh light. Energy weapons sizzled through the air, leaving ozone trails and scorched metal in their wake. "Fall back!" Cooper shouted, laying down covering fire. "Zara, take point!" Zara sprinted forward, her mind racing. She spotted a weakness in the Seebeck formation and seized the opportunity. Gamelon units converge on my position. Humans, flanking Maneuver Delta. The battlefield became a blur of motion and light. Zara dove, rolled, and came up firing, her actions saving the life of a Gamelon soldier caught in the crossfire. The alien's eyes met hers, a moment of understanding passing between them. Cooper's voice cut through the chaos. "New plan. We use their own systems against them." His fingers flew over a captured Seebeck console, rerouting power and overloading circuits. The depot erupted in a cascade of explosions. As the smoke cleared, the surviving members of the strike team emerged, battered but victorious. They had done more than destroy a supply line. They had captured invaluable data on Seebeck troop movements. Back on the Gamelon homeworld, the reception was mixed. Rank-and-file soldiers cheered the humans as heroes, while the high command looked on with thinly veiled unease. Admiral Zar approached Cooper, his expression unreadable. "You've proven resourceful," he admitted grudgingly. "Perhaps there's hope for this alliance yet?" As the adrenaline of victory faded, Zara found herself pulled aside by Kier. The scientist's eyes darted nervously as he pressed a data crystal into her hand. "The truth about our leaders," he whispered. "They're hiding the full extent of our losses, more concerned with their own power than winning this war. Be careful who you trust." Zara's blood ran cold as the implication sank in. She sought out Cooper, finding him alone on an observation deck overlooking the war-torn planet. "We've got a problem," she said softly, showing him the crystal. "A big one." Cooper's expression hardened as he absorbed the news. They had proven themselves in battle, but now they faced a challenge far more insidious. As they stood there, gazing out at the stars, the true scope of their mission began to take shape. The hidden threat Zara's grip tightened on the data crystal as she and Cooper exchanged grim looks. The observation deck's panoramic view of the war-torn planet below seemed to mock their newfound knowledge. "We need to act," Cooper said, his voice low. "But one wrong move could shatter this alliance before it's even begun." Zara nodded, her mind racing. "I'll start with the rank and file. There's discontent brewing. We just need to tap into it." Over the next few days, Zara moved through the Gamelon military complex like a ghost. She struck up conversations in mess halls, training rooms, and medical bays. Each interaction revealed more cracks in the facade of Gamelon unity. In a dimly lit maintenance corridor, she met with Kel, a young Gamelon soldier whose blue crest quivered with nervous energy. "The High Command! They're lying to us," he whispered. "We lost an entire battle group in the Denderan sector last week, but the official reports claim it was a victory." Similar stories accumulated. Zara cataloged each one, building a network of disillusioned Gamelons who yearned for change. Meanwhile, Cooper focused his efforts on Admiral Zar. He requested a private meeting, ostensibly to discuss human integration into Gamelon battle strategies. As they pored over star charts, Cooper carefully steered the conversation. "With all due respect, Admiral, some of these troop movements don't make sense given the intel we have on Sebek positions." Zar's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Cooper laid out his observations, pointing out discrepancies between reported Sebek activity and the positioning of Gamelon forces. Zar's expression darkened as the implications sank in. "I will investigate this matter personally," the Admiral growled. Days later, Zar summoned Cooper to a secure command center. The Gamelon's face was a mask of scarcely controlled fury as he presented his findings. "Vital intelligence has been suppressed. Entire Sebek fleet movements hidden from our tactical analysis." Cooper's eyes hardened. "We need a team we can trust, one that can operate outside official channels." Zar nodded grimly. "I have soldiers loyal to me. Your human operatives have proven their worth. Together we will uncover the full extent of this treachery." The final battle. As Zar assembled his most trusted Gamelon warriors, a contingent of human special forces arrived from Earth. Cooper handpicked the best for their covert mission. Zara's intelligence network had pinpointed a heavily guarded bioweapons facility as the likely repository for the High Council's darkest secrets. Under the cover of darkness, the Joint Strike Team approached the imposing structure. Energy barriers shimmered, and automated defense turrets swept the perimeter. Zara led a small infiltration squad, using stolen access codes to bypass the outer security grid. As they slipped inside, alarms blared to life. The facility erupted into chaos. Gamelon security forces swarmed from every direction, their energy weapons filling the air with sizzling bolts of plasma. Cooper coordinated the main assault team, drawing attention away from Zara's group as they fought their way deeper into the complex. In a sealed laboratory, Zara found what they sought, a bank of encrypted data cubes. Her fingers flew over the controls, bypassing firewalls and security protocols. As the information spilled across the screens, her blood ran cold. "Cooper," she hissed into her comm, "it's worse than we thought." The High Council. They're not just hiding losses, they're negotiating surrender. Before Cooper could respond, a new wave of security forces burst into the lab. Zara snatched the data cubes and dove for cover as energy blasts scorched the air around her. The battle raged through the facility's winding corridors. Human and loyal Gamelon forces fought side by side, their teamwork forged in the crucible of combat. Slowly, they battled their way back to the extraction point. As their shuttles streaked away from the smoldering facility, Zara knew the real fight was just beginning. The truth had to be revealed, but the method of its exposure would determine the fate of two civilizations. The dawn of a new era. Zara turned to Cooper, her eyes blazing with determination. "I have a plan," she said, "but it's going to take every ounce of courage and cunning we have." Cooper nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. "Whatever it takes," he replied. "We didn't come this far to let the Gamelons fall, or to let Earth be next." As their ship accelerated towards the Gamelon capital, Zara began outlining her audacious strategy. The next few hours would reshape the course of the war and potentially the future of the galaxy itself. The data cubes pulsed with an eerie blue light as Zara uploaded their contents to the Gamelon Central Command's secure servers. Admiral Zar loomed over her shoulder, his scarred face illuminated by the flickering holograms that sprang to life. "By the stars," Zar breathed, his eyes widening as the full scope of the High Council's betrayal unfolded before them. Before they could fully process the implications, alarms blared throughout the complex. Cooper's voice crackled over the comm system. "Sebek fleet incoming, they've broken through our outer defenses." Zara and Zar exchanged grim looks. There was no time for carefully laid plans now. All units, battle stations. Zar roared into the facility-wide communications array. "This is not a drill. Sebek forces have breached." His words were cut short as the first energy blast rocked the command center. Zara ducked under a console, pulling Zar down with her as chunks of ceiling rained down around them. "We need to get to the fleet," Zara shouted over the din of battle. "If we can take out their flagship, we might have a chance." They fought their way through smoke-filled corridors, rallying shell-shocked Gamelon troops and human soldiers alike. Outside, the sky burned as Sebek ships swarmed like angry insects, their weapons carving molten furrows across the face of the Gamelon homeworld. In the spaceport, Cooper was already prepping a strike team. "I've got our best pilots ready to go," he reported as Zara and Zar approached. "But even if we take out their command ship, the planet—" He didn't need to finish the thought. They all knew the Gamelon homeworld was lost. The only question now was how many of their people they could save. Zara strapped herself into the pilot seat of a Gamelon fighter, its controls now a familiar extension of her own body. "All wings, report in," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. As their strike force launched into the fiery skies, Zara's mind raced. They needed more than just a military victory now. They needed a miracle. The space battle was a maelstrom of light and destruction. Human and Gamelon ships wove intricate patterns through the void, their weapons flaring against Sebek hulls. Zara led her squadron on a daring attack run against the Sebek flagship, dodging waves of automated drones. There, Cooper's voice cut through the static. That emission tower. It's their doomsday weapon. Zara saw it too, a massive structure jutting from the Sebek vessel, crackling with ominous energy. She keyed her targeting computer, lining up the shot that would decide the fate of two civilizations. Time seemed to slow as she squeezed the trigger, her fighter bucking as it unleashed its payload. The projectile streaked towards its target. For a heartbeat, the universe held its breath. The explosion blossomed like an artificial sun. The Sebek flagship shuddered, secondary detonations rippling along its hull as the behemoth began to list. A cheer erupted across the Allied comm channels, but their elation was short-lived. As the Sebek forces scattered in disarray, the full extent of the devastation below became clear. The Gamelon homeworld was a ruined husk, its once gleaming cities reduced to smoldering craters. Zara landed her battered fighter in what remained of the capital's central plaza. Broken buildings stretched towards a smoke-choked sky. Gamelon civilians emerged from makeshift shelters, their eyes wide with shock and loss. Admiral Zar strode through the rubble, his shoulders set with iron will. "We've won the battle," he announced, his voice carrying across the desolate landscape. "But our world is lost. We must look to the stars for our future now." In the days that followed, a plan took shape. Zara found herself working closely with Zar and a team of Gamelon scientists, including the brilliant but eccentric Kier. They pored over star charts and resource projections, seeking a new home for the displaced Gamelon people. "This sector," Kier said, highlighting a distant nebula. "We've detected a terraformable moon. With the right modifications to our physiology, we could adapt to its environment." Zara nodded, her mind already racing with the logistics of such a massive undertaking. "We'll need to construct Orcs," she mused. "But Earth can help. We owe you that much after everything you've sacrificed." As the evacuation plan solidified, Zara coordinated with Earth's leadership to secure resources and support. Meanwhile, Kier threw herself into the task of engineering a hardier strain of gamelons, better equipped to survive the rigors of space travel and planetary colonization. The work was grueling, a race against time as the remnants of the Sebek forces regrouped for one last spiteful assault. Zara found herself splitting her time between overseeing Ark construction and leading defense patrols against Sebek raids. It was during one such raid that disaster struck. Zara's squad was evacuating civilians from a Gamelon biosphere when Sebek drones swarmed the facility. Energy blasts tore through delicate equipment and irreplaceable genetic samples. "The labs!" Kier's panicked voice crackled over the comm. "We can't lose those samples." Zara's team fought their way through waves of mechanized attackers. The air, thick with ozone. Zara's team fought their way through waves of mechanized attackers, the air thick with ozone and the screams of the wounded. They reached the central laboratory just as Kier was sealing the last of her vital research into a secure container. A stray energy blast struck a nearby power conduit. The explosion knocked Zara off her feet, her ears ringing as she struggled to regain her bearings. Through the smoke, she saw Kier slumped against a damaged console, blood seeping from a gash in her side. "Kier!" Zara scrambled to the scientist's side, her heart pounding. "Hold on, we'll get you out of here." Kier's eyes flickered open, unfocused. With trembling hands, she pressed a data cube into Zara's palm. "Take it," she gasped. "Everything we've worked for, it's all here. You must carry on." Zara clutched the cube, feeling the weight of an entire civilization's future in her hands. "I will," she promised, her voice thick with emotion. "We'll build the world you dreamed of, Kier. I swear it." As medical teams rushed to stabilize Kier, Zara pocketed the precious data cube. She emerged from the smoke-filled laboratory to find Admiral Zar overseeing the final preparations for the Great Exodus. "The Arcs are ready," Zar reported, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. "It's time." Zara nodded, her resolve hardening as the massive ships began to lift off, carrying the hopes and dreams of the Gamelon people. She allowed herself one last look at the ravaged planet below. "Goodbye," she whispered, before sealing herself into her cryopod. As the cold embrace of suspended animation took hold, Zara's last thoughts were of the long journey ahead and the new world waiting to be born.